We're most pleased to welcome you to the Ohio Technology and Engineering Educators Association monthly webinar series. The OTEEA webinar series alternately presents discussions of topics across elementary, middle, and high school STEM and technology education program interests. The full archives of previous webinars can be viewed from the OTEEA webpage under the heading Professional Development under the Events tab. This month's topic presents a discussion of integrated elementary STEM labs and maker spaces. Our presenter for this session is Paige Caudill, a K-5 STEM teacher at the Buckeye Central Schools located in New Washington, which is in Crawford County, and that is north of Bucyrus. Bob and I had the opportunity to meet with Paige and other school staff back in August 2021 as they were beginning the STEM lab program setup. We were very impressed with the community support for the STEM program and the great variety of STEM activities planned. We have asked Paige to share her experiences in the development of the STEM lab program at the Buckeye Central Schools. She'll be covering the solutions they have addressed with various problems, be looking at the future of must-do things and to-do activities, and then providing some advice to others considering the beginning of STEM lab programs. Paige, welcome to the OTEEA webinar series, and we look forward to learning from your experiences and hard work.
Thanks for having me. I guess like when I got started in all this, I was actually not a part of the initial planning process of this. So I had to kind of go back to some of the main players, like our curriculum director, who has changed since then, but she's still in the building. Some of our administration, which has changed since, since that time. And but it was good because I just got done with a meeting with, oh gosh, who was all there? Our tech coordinator. So Tammy Studer, Dick, you met with her. And our new elementary principal and some of our 7th and 8th grade staff and that. And it was good to kind of go backwards a little bit and go through the process of where we've been, how we got there, the hiring and things like that. So that's kind of the first part of this, is that whole big phrase of beginning with the end in mind. For us, it came from a DLT framework discussion. If you remember all of those from a couple of years back, everybody was, looking at decision framework. I think they call it a needs assessment now. And one of the things that came out of that was this need for grit, problem solving, flexible, nimble of thought and action. I chuckle at that word nimble because that word nimble is in our kind of goals or whatever for our school. And a lot of us on the DLT chuckle at that, but I was big on keeping that, me and the high school English teacher, because there was no other word in my mind that shows like you need to be able to jump, you need to be able to move along with what's going on and be swift of thought. And I think these STEM programs, if you apply some of the harder obstacles of these, really work towards keeping kids on their toes. And then of course, persistence. And a lot of that came from this push for PBL, problem-based learning, project-based learning, but those are all big things, but they're hard to put into action by yourself. So, the powers that be that were on the DLT at the time, really got into thinking about how this needs to be a position that helps people tackle those problems. I guess, did any questions about what kind of I said there, or? I don't think so.
Say what DLT is, just in case somebody.
It's our district level teams. So in all of your K-12 buildings, you have DLTs, BLTs, and TBTs. So you have your district level teams, which would be like our K-12 cohort, so to speak, that come together to make district-wide decisions. And that includes superintendent, administrators, and then key people within every one of the building level teams. So that's your BLT, is your building level teams. And then you have your TBTs, which are teacher-based teams. Everything's got an acronym. But we've got all these like little pods now, as far as how like public schools are organized, I guess, and kind of keeping thoughts that trickle from DLT, those then go down to your BLT and so on and so forth. So it's just like people that help do the thinking to keep the school moving forward. But, okay, so once they had kind of established that it needed to be kind of a separate position, or it needed to be a way, how do we institute it? That's where this K-5 position opened up to. Really, it came down to really helping those classroom teachers instill like these projects and some of these skills in that. So soft skills, those are your grits, your communication, all of those 4 C's of, communication and that 21st century levels, skills and that. They need these skills at the younger age so we can build them towards the older age. I think the committee that put that together really did their due diligence with thinking about what makes sense and how to, where to start, not necessarily start in the high school, but start with the littles, because then it can, progressively work forward. And 2, I think, these elementary teachers are doing a lot of these different things already, with PBL and project-based learning and problem-based learning. But it's nice because they have so much to do. It is incredible the amount of work that they do to have somebody to come in and help and kind of give them some ideas and be working together. That's the big thing, is that we have this collaboration. And then it just, as far as why me, because I'm a middle school teacher through and through. I've taught 7th and 8th grade. I've taught 5th and 6th grade. But it's all been within like the science ELA. And then I also have my media specialist license. So that puts me at pre-K-12 as well. But I think the way that I ran my science classroom and my ELA classroom kind of showed that I was willing to let the predominant of what I did was a lot of hands-on and a lot of projects. And I do play well with most people. So I think that was, one of the reasons in-house made it a little easier. I already knew a lot of the people. I knew, what was already going on in science, and science being really, truly my love. So it was a nice foot in the door, easy foot in the door. I can help you do science, and ELA for that matter, but mainly the science piece was a big push in my favor, I think. And then, and again, the people that put this into place, the curriculum director that is still with us. She's not in the curriculum director position any longer. She's actually the head of our preschool. She started a preschool too. She's been busy. She really had a lot of the forethought that, and our technology director had a lot of forethought into saying this needs to be co-taught. This needs to be a collaboration. In my opinion, that is what makes this a success. 2 people are way better than 1. And if you're not hanging out on your own in an island trying to get this stuff done, you're more likely to try. I am allowed to, sit and think and ponder and really bring some projects to these people. And that's my job. So it makes it a little bit easier to collaborate and integrate when we're not both struggling to find time to do it. This is what I'm meant out to do. They really wanted this to be something that was important to Buckeye Central, so much so that they made this a position. And in fact, come the 22-23 school year, if you see on the screen here, for anybody interested, We have a 7-12 position opening up that's going to be basically the same as me, collaboration. They're going to run the high school STEM lab, which is really phenomenal. It would be an awesome position. But so we're going to probably do away with our 7th, and I shouldn't say that for sure, but I would assume that that new person would do a lot with our 7th and 8th grade project Lead the Way, I believe is what that stands for, and also integrate with our high school and middle school teachers. You can kind of see that 6th grade's kind of not in that puzzle. It is in the puzzle, but it's not. 6th grade, which is where I came from. We started an engineering design class that went along with, like, we did some SEL stuff and we did robotics and engineering. So we like did this trimester rotation, which is probably another reason why I was fortunate enough to get chosen for where I'm at. But they kind of have that already wrapped into their schedule. So that new person may or may not do some of that engineering with 6th grade. It would just depend, but they've already got it kind of as a team wrapped in their schedule. So it's kind of out there as 7 through 12, but it might be 6 through 12. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, so we do integrate, which I think is another reason why, it's one of those like hard hit areas, is because it goes right along with what they're doing in the classroom for the most part, not everything. But like I said, gateway, it was my foot in the door, science. So I do a lot of science in my classrooms to to reinforce what they've talked about, but try and bump it up a level from just a lab to an actual, like, here's our content. Now, how can we apply it? All of that application, real world, or try to anyway. But you can do it with any subject. We do a lot of social studies just because those two subjects, especially in elementary, are maybe the least hit in their content. So it's kind of nice to spend some time on the science and social studies subject areas with the elementary teachers. Any questions so far? Yeah. All right. Probably the funnest part of my position since last summer, because the first 2 years that I got the opportunity to do this, I was STEM on a cart. I had a really nice Rubbermaid. I still have it. That's my wheels. A cart that I took to everybody. So I was packing constantly with a big question mark as to what exactly I was going to need for everything that I was doing. And I had like an office in the library kind of tucked away, and it exploded out because I had so much stuff that none of my stuff, I wish I had a picture of what it would look like by the end of the school year, just with everything that would just accumulate. But started out on a cart, and then fortunate enough that when they were adding on to our building, that we're adding on our pre-K and kindergarten classrooms, that one of the kindergarten classrooms then opened up, and I had the opportunity to step into that and completely, I don't want to say completely overhaul it, but do to it what I needed to do to it to get it ready for what we were going to do in the classroom. So I got to take my junk out of everybody else's rooms, which they were very fortunate to give me that room. The teachers were always very kind, but when I told them that they were going to come to me, nobody was complaining because I left, in mid project and whatever. We had to find places in their classrooms, and it's just so much nicer now to have kind of my own space and can keep my junk to myself instead of spreading it out amongst the classrooms. But as far as when you're thinking about your space, lots of things to think about. Student population you're serving, that was my first hiccup because I'm serving kindergarten to 5th grade, and those bodies are very, very different. I will tell you that my kindergarten people, they stay in their classrooms, or actually we have this flex space outside of their classrooms. That's where I do all of my STEM stuff with my kindergartners. Because I have them like within their reading groups. So I go like 15-minute sections or 20-minute sections with them. So they just pop out of their kindergarten classroom to that flex space. We do a little something, and then they go back and we rotate. I'm like part of their group, I kind of rotate through. So kindergarten stays down in their land, which is fine because they are like way down the hallway and their little legs could never keep up. But everybody else first grade to fifth graders in my classroom. So furniture had to fit, you know, with the different types of bodies. Organization needed to fit with all those different height ranges and ability levels. Layout needed to be convenient, and it needed to be able to be flexible. And it takes a lot of time to sit in your classroom, in your space, and just sit there and think about all the different things that you could do in it and what it's going to look like. I used a lot of paper and tape to, you know, move things around so that I could kind of visualize it, because I'm not a really good spatial, you know, how big something is, and then I can't just see it. I got to like map it out. So, you know, I spent a lot of time just sitting in my room this summer, like in June, before I started buying anything. I refused to buy anything if I wasn't completely sure that it would work. So I had samples brought in kind of the spring before of a table that everybody should have, including myself, but they're really expensive, but they're really awesome. And just kind of taking my time. I wasn't forced to like, you got to make decisions now, which has been really nice. Like, it's been a gradual thing, and I would highly suggest not spending money before you know, like what exactly you're going to do. If you can be in your space without, you know, spending too much money initially and then go out the next year. Like this year I have just the regular chairs that we have, just lots of different sizes and stools. And I think this coming fall, I'm going to get the opportunity to get a bunch of different stools and that, because I would prefer stools over chairs, and I'm tired of tripping over the legs of the chairs and stubbing my toes, which I wouldn't have known if I wouldn't have, you know, kind of experienced it. But I would just say, take your time. If you have an opportunity, unless you've got to spend that money right now, like I would just let it be earmarked for your space and take your time with it. So to the tables, I'm not going to click on that link, but if you have the opportunity to look at what those hat tables are, they are amazing. They not only tip and go like tall, they are on wheels, and they have a little trigger on it that makes it go up and down without electric, because a lot of our up and down tables are electric. These are pneumatic. They are amazing. They are the Cadillac of tables. And they can be whiteboards too. like they just check all the marks. The only thing that is terrible about that, not terrible about that table, if I was in high school, I'd have had them, is that with wheels on them, they were too tall for my little people. So I said, all right. And I would just use the tables that I've got, and I just got standard tables, and honestly, they work just fine. But if you have a need for a really nice table, that hat table, they're like $1,500 a piece. They are a phenomenal table. And I had one in my room. I should be a seller of these things. But I had one in my room, and I thought, oh, they'll be too flexy, they'll flex too much, right? No, they are amazing. They don't flex. They go up and down. They roll. They are super easy to use. They're a really nice table. So if I could I actually asked them if I could help them to, you know, design little ones for little people. And they didn't really seem too keen on the idea. I told them I would help them. And I told them I would buy them.
Field test them, send 20.
I know, no doubt. I would be there. We'll get in on the design. They didn't jump at it. I don't know why. But like I said, I would suggest stools over chairs, but that's not a big deal. You know, you do what you need to do. I do like my outlets, reels on the ceiling. When you get hot glue guns and anything else that is plug in, you know, it's nice to have that right at your table, because no elementary room has enough electrical outlets. I don't know why. They are always on one side of the room and not all over the room. And we weren't going to put electric in our floors because our building is already existing. So the next best and easiest thing to do is put them in the ceiling. And we're fortunate enough that our head maintenance guy is an electrician, like by trade. So like he did it all. So there's many reasons why we are very spoiled here at Buckeye Central. And that's one of them is we have an electrician on call. We pay him to be our head maintenance guy, and it's awesome. I do still have like a carpeted area again, that's where coming into like understanding your procedures and how you're going to run your classroom, just like any other classroom. So when I work with my littles in particular, like my first, second, and third grade, they immediately go to the carpet so we can have a powwow about what's going to be done today. My fourth and fifth graders do not, they're just bigger. They can handle being at the tables and holding their attention to me most of the time. So, but that's why I have a carpet, not necessarily for any other reason, as that's our meeting space and it gives them a visual clue as to where to be. And they're used to that. Our little people are used to having a carpeted area and that's where they go and sit. So kind of, again, what procedures are you going to have in your room? And that should tell you about your space some as well. Multiple trash cans, that's always big. I love my janitors. They gave me one on wheels, bless their souls. It's a big one. And you know, that thing gets pushed around the room constantly. And then my cart, I still use it. It's still full of stuff. And I use it to go down to my kindergarten room yet too, but it wouldn't hurt to have one of those, you know, for your person, whoever that is. They're really nice. They're kind of expensive, but you know, you get what you pay for. So that's that space. As far as organization, you need to think about, again, your ability level, your line of sight, your ease of use, sustainability, how you're going to keep things, you know, in order, because you're not always wanting to have to shuffle through everything. My ace in the hole that I found was my adjustable wall system. Wait 1 second, which is this. Okay, so this is from the Container Store. Why this is different from the one from Lowe's or Menards, because it looks just like those on the outset, right? Okay, but this rail right here, this one right here, that is the only thing that is mounted to the wall. Everything else is free floating. So at any time, I wouldn't probably change it during the year, but in any summer I get a bee up my bonnet, I want to change something. All of these rails are not nailed down. They are just hanging there. And all of this stuff, all of it, the design of it, how it's all laid out can all change relatively easily. So, you know, it's not from an educational store, therefore it's cheaper, but it's from the Container Store. It's quality stuff. And I got it 20% off because it was a summer sale. So, you know, like I think every section, every like 4 foot was like $1,000 or something like that, but with 20% off. So, you know, I just can't say enough about having something like this that's flexible. That was always just my big thing. I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know what I was always going to be doing. Flexibility is a huge component of things. So this particular wall unit is full up and, you know, constantly kind of changing as far as where things are going. But it's been a huge asset because of the drawers. I just really liked a lot of their stuff. I'm a drawer person. I will choose a drawer over a cupboard every time, 110%, because it contains it. I don't have to bend over to look deep into it. It all comes to me. So if you can have drawers, you get drawers because they're way more functional than a cabinet. And I would say that true of my kitchen as well, because I designed that too. But yeah, so adjustable, it has drawers, see-through countertop. That was a big thing too. I needed more countertop, more places to stack things apparently, but it's just nice to have a working space. And I like the ability for the pegboard to be, you know, adjustable. I can kind of keep moving things. I'm going to show you here in a second, my shelving. I have like, they're like food service shelves, to be honest with you. They're on wheels. Again, everything adjustable and movable. I'll show those to you. And then my paper space. So these shelves we got just from like, it's called Cecil Distributing. It's I think they're more close to like Bloomville area, so Seneca County. But they're local, their kids go to school here, but their company, you know, sells all this kind of stuff. Okay, so we have this type of shelving in our cafeteria. We have it out in our bus garage. But I use this shelving, has wheels, love, for all of our projects. So those will then, think of it like, have you ever seen those libraries where they have all the shelves that like collapse into one another, right? And then you roll them and they like open up. Like that was my inspiration for this space, because I don't need like static shelves, because I'm always constantly needing more space. And so like these, then I can just tilt them open. I can just shove them open to get to where we need to, and then combine them back. Like right now, they're all combined. This is exactly as they are in my room right now. Oops. Because I needed space right here for my little first graders to work with their BBOTs and that. So I just smushed them all over to the side. Normally I've got them open, like one like this, and then one like that's out, and then one that's open, and one that's out, and one that's open. So we can get to all the nooks and crannies of it, but they have the ability to be smashed together and create a much larger open space. And then this part right here is just an old, mailbox, but you need shelves for all the different types of paper and all that sort of thing. So I just repurposed that, and then put on my like cereal cardboard down there, cereal box cardboard, which is the type of cardboard I use the most with my littles, because they can cut it. They, the big stuff, the thick stuff, they can't really cut, but this stuff works pretty good. They call it like chipboard or something like that. So those are some working spaces, that the kids can go to. That was big thing for me too. Like little people like to be independent. They like to know where things are at and go get it themselves. And I want them to do that. They need to be able to do that. They should feel comfortable enough in this room to know where things are at. If they need something and they're allowed to go get it themselves. And so all down below, if you can kind of see, is all construction paper, and the expensive stuff is on top. So they have to like ask permission to get to the foam and the felt, or, and all the scraps and that are down at the bottom where they can easily access that sort of thing. So all again, thinking about your clientele and that sort of business. I do have existing wall units that are traditional cupboards and that. I didn't make those things that the kids could get into because you can't see what's inside of it. So everything the kids can get to is all visible. They can see without opening what's inside, but all of the like traditional, cupboards and shelving and stuff that's typically in a classroom, that's all, you can't see in it. And so I don't need everybody going through all the drawers and the cupboards and that just to find something. That's all like extra stuff. And I tell them, I show them, but it's not anything that they need to kind of have the ability to get into, again, because they can't see what's inside of it. I do have containers for like projects, things in progress. They're just this kind of basket from the Dollar Tree. I don't like them because they got holes in them and things roll out of them, but they were $1 a piece and they'll do for right now. Containers like that tend to be really more expensive than they need to be. So you kind of just make do with what you can find, but that size is nice. It just has holes in it. And so all our straws and everything fall out of them and it's rather annoying. But like I said, they'll do. And you're welcome. The Talenti gelato containers, you now are officially supposed to buy those because you will use those containers like all the time. They are clear, they are heavy duty plastic, and they have a screw top lid. And they are my favorite container, recycled container to use for just about everything, from every sparkle and googly eye and everything. They work amazing. Kids can see what's in them and you get gelato on top of it.
Good therapy.
Yeah, no doubt.
I wonder if the dollar store little containers, if you like took some shelf paper and lined them with that sticky paper or something.
Yeah, there's things to be done, but in the meantime, yeah, you could do something with them for sure. As far as like in this video and that, this is most current classroom layout design. I have a pretty big space. Now my high school STEM lab is ginormous. And if you ever wanted to come and see it, you just let me know and I'll take you down and around. they really did a nice job of giving it quite a bit of space. Technically, they're supposed to be able to have like 3 classes in it at once. My guess is they probably at most have 2, just because noise level and things like that. But it's a fair amount of space for kids to be able to be down there working, and they do their robotics, their competition robotics and stuff down there too. My room, I mean, it fits my biggest class, again, spoiled rotten, because we are a very small school with money. My biggest class has got 25 in it, and my room fits 25 fine. Our typical class is more like your 15 to 18. So my room's plenty big for that sort of situation. I kind of put those in there just for anybody that wanted to view them. It's kind of nice to see a whole room, walk through and whatnot, to really get a good feel of the layout and how big it really is or isn't. And again, like thinking about layout and design of things, like on this side, I don't know if I can move my thing here. This side was more geared to, my smaller little people. I got all my toilet paper rolls down low. Here's my paper towel rolls, again, low. All the washable markers are down below here for my little people, and my little scissors and, tape and whatnot. But on this side is more of my bigger kid, and they kind of know that. You got bigger scissors, you got cardboard cutters, you got cardboard saws, which are really awesome. And again, up high is my Sharpies and things like that. Hummingbird kits that I use with the older people, but any of this stuff up top, I can set down here low for any of my little people to get their hands into. And my bottom shelves are all recyclables. So anything that somebody brought in, say, oh, Paige, I thought this was a neat container for the kids to use. It is sorted by foam, plastic, cardboard, and then I don't know bucket, where everything else goes to live, rubber and things like that I'm just like, I don't know, somebody will use it. But yeah, I would say as far as organization, this is the thing that everybody comes in and says, oh, I say, yeah, it is awesome. There's that space. Okay, these are just like my north, south, east, west walls, just so you get a broader picture. And you can see it's just regular. I have just regular tables, even though I had that Cadillac in my room at one point in time. I ended up with just regular tables that clean off really nice. And, they're just, I forget what height I adjusted them to, but I went through and I measured all the elementary tables and where they were at. And I measured my 5th grade tables. They're upstairs in the middle school and where they were at. And, my little people do okay with standing. A lot of them like to stand anyway. And so this table, they can reach all the way across. I brought some of them in to make sure that they could reach all the way across. We did our due diligence to try and start the year so that nobody was too frustrated with, being able to reach or things like that, or being comfortable in the room. Okay. As far as, what I have here in the room, I've got a ton of stuff in the room, but I would say if I were a person starting, it's super overwhelming, because there is just so many different directions to go. Even within the meeting that I just had with all my elementary teachers and my principal and my tech coordinator and my curriculum director, like I asked them straight out, like, what really do you want from this? Because I could go robotics and just do robotics. I could go maker and just do like maker and design process. Like, what do we want? What is our vision truly? And I agree with this. This was my suggestion that we keep with it is to have that variety, because we shouldn't be pigeonholing these kids yet into just doing robotics or just doing maker. We don't know what they like yet. They don't know what they like yet, and they need to be exposed. Even though if that means that I don't get to go very deep into a lot of different things, that's okay, because they have middle school and high school yet, to kind of dive deeper into something that they like. So in my room, I just recently got some B-bots. I've had Botley, same thing, just Botleys have remotes, and those remotes cross with each other. That's real fun. So we used to have to take the Botleys into our auxiliary gym where we could really spread out and and hope to goodness that somebody didn't point that remote in the wrong direction and it turned somebody else's robot on and it do something. Oh, that was challenging. So the B-bots have their little remote right on their bodies, so we don't have any cross pollinating, we'll say, to other robots. So B-bots would be my suggestion, but Botleys are going to go into my teachers' classrooms for maybe like a STEM center, because Botley has like some really neat add-ons to it, where they can do little challenges or whatnot, like with a ball, and then they got to get the ball certain spots, and it's kind of like Rube Goldberg-ish with dominoes to knock over in that. So those are going to head back into the classrooms for the kids to use, maybe at center time or something like that. I do have Ozobots. I just got a fresh set of those, which are great because we've had Ozobots for quite some time, not quite some time, 3 or 4 or 5 years or so. So I got a fresh ones of those because those do wear out after a bit. Kids, I'm thinking about, because I really hit those hard in 3rd grade. But what I'm thinking about doing is K to 2, doing the color coding with those, and then 3 to 5 using the Blockly, Ozobot Blockly. So getting a little bit more robotics in there with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, so that they have a reason to be doing, like we use code.org quite a bit too. And that I can tell, okay, we're prepping to learn how to use like the Ozobots and that. We do have hummingbird kits, if you're familiar with those at all. Anybody? Have you heard of the hummingbird kits before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're, in my mind, the perfect mashup for making and robotics to come together. We make with cardboard for them, and then we code it and make a robot out of whatever we want. So to me, that's like the pinnacle of what I do for them would be these hummingbird kits. And I would highly suggest them, and you can order them with the microbits. I need to do more with the microbits in of themselves, but you use a microbit with the hummingbird kits. I do have Kiva blocks, which the kids love. We have 3 Ducks Design, which my kindergartners love. We just started with those. I just had a kindergartner. He's awesome. He built a person the last time I saw him, but today he built a motorcycle for his person to sit on. And so I wish I think I might have taken a picture of it, but I didn't put it in here. It is awesome. The legs move up, he readjusted the legs, moved the arms so that they sit on the handlebars. He made a seat. He's got he just did it all, and he's 5. Like colored it up just right. He loved it. He was so proud of it. And 3 Ducks Design, that's a pretty slick product to be able to do that with the littles like that. I just got 3D doodlers from the 3D doodlers company. Sorry, it's hard to say. Be looking to get more of those. Kids are really interested in those. And I'm excited about them because now, we can implement and say, you need to use the doodler to make some, a unique something to go in a project, for it to be part of the project. If we do, we make our classroom designs, and that we make a map of a classroom and of one of them that they're in. So they got to measure up the classroom. They got to draw and design the different, sides and that. And so we can now use these 3D doodlers to say they can use them to help make some of the things that would then go in the room. So and make it a little more realistic, which I'm really excited about. We use paper circuits. I'm going to get a poster maker in my room. I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm getting one, which will be exciting for us to kind of get some things out on the walls in the hallway about what we're doing, take pictures, and kind of do some design in that regard as far as communicating out what we're doing. And then, you can have every bit of tool, out there. But what I started with was cardboard and tape and hot glue guns and tacky glue and scissors. And you can really do a lot from that. But like I said, I'm very spoiled here. we are a small school with money. And so like I have the opportunity to purchase things that kind of fill out the program and make it exciting for the kids. As far as beginning resources, obviously you need to, anybody should sign into OTEEA and ITEEA. I'm a part of SECO and NSTA just because I was a science teacher and I've been a part of those programs or those professional groups for a long time, and they've got a lot of good resources to go along with STEM standards. STEL, really trying to work through those and being specific about what I'm doing in each one of the grade levels. But there's all kinds of standards everywhere. I think if whoever, is starting just needs to choose one and go with it for a bit and get until you can get to, a good space where you're saying, okay, really being focused on what are we doing in each grade level. And then in my opinion, that's where the STEL comes into play because it has really got a good scope to it as far as what in kindergarten, first and second grade you can do or should be doing, what they're capable of doing in that. If I had a book to start you off on, it would be Picture Perfect STEM Lessons. These books, they really force you to collaborate because you cannot get all of this done in the 45 minutes to an hour that you have that's specific to quote unquote STEM. So it's often, again, picture book based, and then lessons to go along with them that are more than just the doing aspect. So those books are good to, especially to force collaboration and integration. These websites I would start with, and I would really limit any beginning person from going out of even these and some of the other people that I have listed on here, because it is super overwhelming. Because you get on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, which I'm not a huge social media person, but you delve into it and you're like, oh my God, everybody's doing so much. Just get started. Just work with your toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls, and the kids will love everything that you do with them. Elementary in that regard, being from a middle school background, like elementary can be a big fresh, breath of fresh air because they're pumped to be there. And so you're already starting on the right foot. But STEM is Elementary is Bob's website, and it is awesome. It's just awesome. It's got, because not very many places do you see Ohio science standards, right? Okay. So, he's got all the Ohio standards there for you to just use to do this lesson. It goes along with this. It's already got the grade level there. Your teachers are already talking about those things. It is a wonderful foot in the door, and it is easy. Just go, just use it. Teach Engineering is another, like, just type in what you're looking for and you're going to find something that's interesting and that meets those teacher standards, because the biggest pushback you're going to get is they don't have time. Well, I'm integrating with you. We're collaborating. This is stuff you're supposed to be teaching. So we're not wasting anybody's time. We are just focused on these particular standards, and it's not fluff. We are doing real work. The NASA STEM engagement piece is their NASA best resources, which are actually kind of old. They've got newer stuff, but this is kind of laid out really nice. And it's, again, another good place to start. NASA has so much on their websites that I never know what I'm going to click on and find, because it's literally everywhere. Like, I wish they would condense it to, here's your education stuff, all of it. And you're not missing anything, but unfortunately it's kind of everywhere. So NASA can be a bit overwhelming, but it's a good resource. This particular one is their NASA best, and it's really easy to follow. And I used it with my 5th grade science standards. It fits beautifully, and we do so much measuring, and we do so much engineering design with that. It's really, really an awesome resource. I use code.org to kind of round out, make sure kids are thinking about like the coding aspect of things, and they're little puzzles, and it's free. And again, another resource that's really laid out with lessons, and they walk you through it. I did every one of those puzzles before I taught them to my kids, just because then I knew the pitfalls that they were going to fall into. But it doesn't take much time for an adult to go through them, and they're challenging. I have first graders usually in tears, but it forces them, like patterns. Patterns drops off after kindergarten, we have found, and kids don't know patterns yet that well. So we talk a lot about patterns in first grade. And on. So it's one of those skills like simple machines that needs to be picked up somewhere that really is, our Ohio standards, especially for science, is missing in those. For your professional websites too, and if you have like Ozobots, all of those websites have lessons for you to use. And then, because the world is the way that it is, we have, Teachers Pay Teachers and all of their blogs. These are what do I got? 6 people out there. These are the 6 that I follow the heaviest. They're really good, in my opinion. Teachers Are Terrific. She has a ton of just STEM challenges, a lot of standalone. I started here too, because I felt like this is what people were wanting. I do a little less of this because I'm so much more kind of integrated, but I will use these Teachers Are Terrific challenges, these design challenges, I think, to do some of my assessing as far as where we're at in the design process and that. Vivify STEM, they're heavy in with the science space things, really awesome resource. Momgineer, she is exactly that. She's an engineer and she's a mom, and she has young children. So for my K-1-2, this was like a perfect place to begin, because I, again, middle school teacher, I'm like, how do you do things with people that can't read? I really struggled with that. How they can't read, what do you do? So, like this was a good place to go. Teach Outside the Box, that's Brooke Brown. She has a lot with robotics, tech stuff, and she's a STEM teacher in a school, which is, so it's like real, Feel Good Teaching. She is really, in my opinion, she's really kind of top notch in the rigor aspect of things. Her challenges are really tough, and they take multiple days to do, for me anyway. But she includes a lot of the writing, which is where I need to get to. She would be what she's doing is where I need to be going. Carly and Adam, they do a lot of books based on, or a lot of challenges based on books. So that's a good ELA connection. If you aren't having anything right now, currently in there, like science or social studies, that you feel like you can integrate with, there's always books to work in and do challenges with. All right. So like I said, very spoiled here at Buckeye Central. We are a small school with money. Okay. We have the pipeline running through a part of our property. So, we've got things going on, and we have a really awesome board who has, a really good vision, and our administration has a vision for what we want to be, not just a small town bumpkin school. We want to be top notch. We want these kids to come out of Buckeye Central being able to think and problem solve, and have that grit and determination, because we have found that companies, that's what they say, like to sit there and say like, oh, we've got to teach these kids these like skills or whatever, like coding and things like that. That is a forever moving target. What the industry wants is forever moving. What we need, and what these companies are saying that we need to do, and what we should have been doing righteously all along, is learn how to think. We need to be nimble of thought. We need to be able to pivot and solve problems along the way, little bits by little bits, and be able to work with somebody to get those jobs done, and to be able to read a manual, be able to, help yourself figure out the problem, or your team to figure out the problem. So, we really do have a lot of forward-thinking people here that want to see these students come out of Buckeye Central saying, and being proud, I come from Buckeye Central and I can get things done. So like I have a decent budget to be able to do all this stuff. But that being said, there are so many grants available right now for STEM education and different projects. Like, it is just so much money out there for it. But in my little community, like Buckeye Central in and of itself has an endowment fund. So that endowment fund is for projects outside of what the school would normally pay for. So I bought a, because I do announcements in here. So I bought a teleprompter. They bought a teleprompter for me. So my kids could not be staring down at their papers, that they would be looking up at the camera. And that's like, like that's what the real people use. Let's use a teleprompter. It's pretty awesome. We haven't started it yet. That may be something in the fall, but it's sitting in my office and I've got to figure it out. But we have companies like North Central Electric. I don't know if this is true of every electric company, but ours, I don't know how this all came to be, but they round up. So our people that are part of North Central Electric, their electric bill is rounded up to whatever. I don't even know what it's rounded up to. That extra money is set aside into what's called the North Central Electric Community Fund. And that money, then I can apply for grants with them, and their board, they have a people's board. And my entire school district is part of North Central Electric. So they want to give the money out to the school districts and to the small, the village and things like that. That's an everybody fund that can be, wrote for. And then we have companies like PPG that they have set aside. If you know somebody in PPG, then there's money there. I think we get $5,000 a year, like in $1,000 grants. So $1,000 grants. That, is a really not difficult grant to write. You got to find those little pockets of money that you can kind of use quickly. And we are fortunate to have several different pots that we can kind of go from. But that too, if you don't have time to write the grants, which I highly suggest writing the grants. But you have your staff community here at school. They bring me in toilet paper rolls, paper towel rolls, all of their gift, their any of their stuff. I have so much stuff that just comes from, I don't really have to ask my parents for much because my staff is bringing in their cereal boxes for me. I just tell them, put a little bag on a door somewhere and just fill it up. And when it's full, just bring her into me. And they do. I have some frequent flyers that are very willing to do that for me. You just got to ask and make it known that that's the kind of stuff that you're looking for. So yeah, we're pretty fortunate here to, have the people that want these programs to go. I think they see the value in it and these skills that the kids are learning along the way that aren't necessarily topic specific or, content specific, but just like everyday knowledge specific, so that they can be, well-rounded human beings as they leave our hallways. Okay. So currently, and kind of in my opinion, what I've been doing the last 2 or 3 years has been kind of the easy part of things, the space and just starting, jumping in with science, because that's what I know. That's my initial love is science. So that was, again, like easy. I'll come in and help you and let's do some things. But now it's like, now we got to be nitpicky. Now we got to be intentional. Like that should be my word of the year, is the word intentional. What percentage of everything am I doing? Because, and everybody's like, oh, Paige, you're doing a great job. And I'm like, I picked some good things. Yeah. But some of it's kind of, like what I think I ought to be doing, and just trying some things, which is okay. But there are some things that need to be like solidified, as far as like percentage of what I'm doing. If we want to be showing a variety, which I think we've determined is what we want to do, I've got 4 quarters, do I think of things in trimester sort of ideas, or I've got a 3rd or a 4th, like how many weeks per quarter. And it's not going to be perfect, but for my brain to be able to schedule and pick things, like it's nice to be able to be a little more finite than, well, I think I oughta. really looking at what we're doing and is it what we want? So my next move is after this school year is to really look at everything that I'm doing. I've got these like long lists of paper because I'm a visual person. And I will be checking off, is this robotics? Is it maker? Is it both? And crossing things off. That was dumb. I don't want to do that again. That sort of thing. I need to get engineering notebooks done. Mandatory. I've got to start writing. That's the hard part of STEM, is thinking about what I'm doing and, that metacognition, knowing what I'm learning and can I express what I'm learning? And the kids aren't going to want to do it, but it's something that we definitely need to be doing because come high school and all their robotics and their VEX and all that, they've got to keep a notebook and it's got to be just come second nature. And we can do that in kindergarten and first and second along the way where they just get used to reflecting and what stumped me today? What was my success today? Just small things, but they've got to get writing. That's the hard part. And then how does that fit in my flow of things? Because I'm constantly going over time, always. And then the next part too, how do we know these kids are gaining anything from doing these? I mean, we come from such a data driven, world. How do I know that anything that we're doing all this time and this money and this position, is it helping other than everybody just saying, yeah, we love doing it. The kids love doing it. So my next move is to come up with some design challenges for the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. And kind of let the kids take it on, with some, for first and second grade, have some scaffolding, for third and fourth, a little less scaffolding, fifth grade, even less scaffolding, to be able to get those challenges met and to do the thinking and the writing that requires them to show me that they can do the work and collaborate and work with somebody and do all those soft skill things. So rubrics need to be made, projects need to be, thought about, and it has to be something that can be done in a day. That's the other challenge of it. It doesn't need to be something that's ongoing. So much of what we do is ongoing and going and going. So I want something that's very finite, an hour. Maybe we get everybody in the cafeteria, they do it. I have all the teachers observing. We got these rubrics put together. Once those are put together and we go and we just see. But the rubric's the hard part in my mind. I haven't figured that out yet. And then also after school and summer opportunities. This summer, I am offering a Hummingbird week with my incoming fifth graders because we use Hummingbird quite a bit in fifth grade. And then a Lego experience for my ingoing fourth graders. I'm starting with fourth grade. I think that can go even lower, but with it being my first year, I'm going to start with some of my older kids just because I'm a little more comfortable with the slightly older students and then kind of build and from there. And then there's always the looming idea of VEX and competition, robotics and things like that for after school programs. So a lot of things to do, and I think that's it. So are there any thoughts or questions?
That was the engineering notebooks. In addition to writing, drawing is important.
Yeah.
Then sort of crossing that, having them write about what they've drawn or draw about.
And doing a final drawing. That's something too. So we always draw ahead to make our plan and label and what I think and whatnot, but then to do a final drawing on grid paper, things labeled, things measured, measurements through it, and then a writing piece to go with it. Yeah, all of it. And then it will follow them. I'll just keep them and I'll have them from, I don't know if I'd started in kindergarten, maybe kindergarten to fifth grade. I mean, they themselves then would see quite a bit of growth. And then those challenges that are done at the beginning, middle, and end, those will be the same. So that'll get some reiteration going for how have I gotten better myself? How have my ideas evolved? So it's going to be a good thing. It's going to be a good thing if I can get it figured out.
Yeah, you pretty well nicely covered all the advanced questions I had kind of locked out that kind of really pushed all the buttons. So it's really, really grand to see the progress you've been able to make with it.
Thank you.
Are you with your cooperating teachers in the building? Are they seeing some differences in the students' abilities to basically handle problems or the?
I think so. I think there's a little less pushback on kind of going back and trying again. But you're still, in this classroom, I have seen kids where the first year we had quite a few tiers, and, starting with them in kindergarten now, they just kind of know that, you'll get a chance to try again. But we're also moving to standards-based grade cards, and kind of that idea of kind of, one time is not done, like showing that growth and over time, if you're, starting, lower and then progressing higher. And, I think that's all going to kind of flow together. But yeah, it's quite the process here.
Yeah, I've seen the notion where some folks almost have we have an expectation for failure. So, fail early and move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And the one thing I wish I could do more is kind of do a little bit more intentional failing. I do in second grade an anemometer, and it's a poor design. And I tell them from the outset, I said, it's okay, because they really struggle. We're going to put this together exactly as it says to put it together. And they see some of the problems along the way as they go. And I tell them, I said, nope, got to make it show me exactly as they, follow the directions to a T. And then we go back and fix little by little to make it better and better. But I need more projects like that. I need, in every grade level, I need to have at least one project kind of where it's intentional, poor design, and then we make it better, that sort of thing.
Are the kids at all grade levels adjusting to the engineering design process?
Yeah, they love to draw it out first. Yeah. Like I even have kinders who, will build something. Here lately, we've been doing a lot with like Legos and just in general model making. And they are wanting to, well, aren't we going to draw it now after they've, after they've made it, they want to kind of finalize it on paper, which has been kind of interesting because that's kind of new to what I've been doing. But yeah, no, it's kind of come second nature that we've got to make a plan first. And I do see some of it, with some kids making a plan first without needing a whole lot of prompting, some of my first and second graders. But it'll come. I think I need to, again, be more intentional with, and that will come, I think, with an engineering design notebook, if we're always in it, then kind of how does everything that we're falling into, fall into that process. But it's coming.
Yeah, you really loaded up the presentation. We just a great lot of common sense, which is really appreciated, and kind of what works and what doesn't work, and then some of the resources.
Yeah,
are really most helpful. So
thank you.
I was also thinking about as you sort of perfect this engineering notebook thing, I think that could make a great display at the state fair to show how these younger kids can progress in how they're doing the design.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, from kindergarten to fifth grade is a ginormous, ability level jump. And to see an individual kid's work change over that time could be really powerful.
Right.
Just need to do it. Need to do it. Just do it. It just takes, like I was an interactive notebook person in sixth grade, but you always had a notebook, and I know kind of how much time it takes to, kind of get that work done. But I really think it'll be powerful. I just need to, I think I may have convinced most of my teachers that we need to do an hour instead of 45 minutes. But I've already had some of my classes at an hour, and we just right up to that point always. Yeah. But I think if I know I'm doing it, and I'll have some like ideal stopping points along the way, hopefully that'll help. I've had some composition notebooks in my office because I was starting it with my first grade. I was gonna do it. And they've been sitting there all year. So I just need to do it. Just need to jump.
Yeah, the could well be through the elementary council and the your design group through ITEA, where they have some elementary samples, or some of the more involved teachers may well have examples of engineering books that would give you a good starter for.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have just some, like, I don't know, like some sort of organizer that the kids could get familiar with, and it wouldn't be a relearning of something all the time, like just get some sort of graphic organizer or whatever that can be used relatively easily for quite a few groups of kids, and then we can roll from there.
And this is an age where you can actually get away with sort of stopping and saying, okay, everybody, you've been thinking really good ideas, or you've been drawing really good ideas. Make sure you get them in the notebook.
Yeah.
Let's say 3 minutes and put them in the notebook.
Yeah. It's just, first grade in particular, they're non-readers for the most part coming in, and so writing is hard, and they write like ginormous. And as a middle school teacher, what are you doing?
What might be able to do if the notebook could be kind of woven into the English language arts expectations, for the notion of, rather than doing creative writing, they're doing more technical writing or more descriptive writing. So
I think there's some opportunity there. It's just like schedule wise. If I can get it in my room, then I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But like some kids, they go right off to another special right after me, or it's end of the day, or it's, like there's always something that's happening right after potentially. And so it's not always ideal. So I kind of have to like figure out, I think if I want it to be something that's really thought about right now and it being timely, and how, because littles, they forget, and so, I've got to figure out how to make it so that it can be kind of done in here. I think those teachers, once they see it done, will be, I think they could see then, but I've got to get it started.
Yeah.
I've got to kind of show even myself kind of what it could become.
Well, the drawing slides very nicely into the mathematics, spatial relations kind of thing. So folks will be seeing demonstrations that you're providing are also.
And just getting out a ruler more often than the measuring unit, like they need to, those sorts of things that just become normal,
Mm-hmm. So really super. You covered a mess of ground, so that was really delightful in terms of
awesome.
telling the tale. And,
well, hopefully, if somebody, they can use it to kind of not stumble through some things. It really just takes a matter of sitting down and thinking it through, and not being in a rush.
Yeah.
And just kind of starting too. It's like half and half. You got to jump.
Yeah.
I went to a presentation at the ITEA conference, and they had many similar kinds of things that they'd gone through. But I'd say you're definitely ahead as far as getting teacher involvement. They've been struggling with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I am very fortunate that a lot of the teachers, all of the teachers, honestly, see value in it. And it's nice because, like, again, like, foot in the door of science, like they've all got to teach it, and some don't feel as comfortable teaching it or don't have as much time. And so here's some dedicated time and help, I am not, like, we are going to get through this together and we can get it done together. And these projects, honestly, like, I don't know how people would do them by themselves, like a lot, especially with the little people. Like, it's nice having two people in here, two brains, two people wandering about helping, and seeing, and they get a chance to see the kids very differently. The kids that aren't necessarily great reading students come in here and whip out some things that you'd be shocked, like, and they're the leader of their group at that time, like, so you do see, a lot of people say that, but I'm here to say, like, you see kids very differently in these situations. And you see kids that struggle with traditional schooling kind of type stuff, and they come in here and they can do something, so it's worthwhile. It is very worthwhile.
Back in August, there was some conversation about, as part of your district-wide assessment program, you being able to make use of the STEM lab and STEM activities. Has that progressed one way or another?
I kind of don't, is there our assessments? What do you mean?
Yeah. I think it was part of the student assessments.
Well, that's where, with OTEEA 2.0, like, for at least for myself in that, we've got, like, I've got to come up with some sort of like data, and that's kind of too where this idea of, are the kids growing, and having some sort of data to show that the program is kind of moving forward, having these little challenges or whatnot that can happen year to year to year. And we can see kids get better and better and better at them potentially, or more complex, maybe not better is not the word, more complex, with their thinking. So if that's what you're talking about.
And really especially valuable, as you mentioned, with the students where others might hold them in low expectations, that in your lab, they are exceeding, or they are the group leaders and whatever. So
Yeah, and their classroom teachers see them that way then, because they're in here.
Okay.
Like they're my, it's not me telling the teachers about it, and I wouldn't necessarily know any different, because I'm not in their classroom all the time. But when they bring their students in here, their homeroom teachers get another opportunity, another view at that student. And there's been quite a few instances where I have teachers poking me going, look at this, like, it's good for everybody, and that it's, it's co-taught. Everybody's in here.
Yeah, for them to catch it firsthand really makes all the difference in the world. Which then gives them a point to have sidebar conversation with the kids, or treat them respectfully. And
two, then they take what's in here and go into their classroom. Even with coding, we talk about algorithms, that gets brought up in math then, step by step, right? Like, we're going to do this in order. So the teachers really do take, some of the ideas in here and take it back to their classrooms. And I think that will happen more too with the engineering design notebook. I think it'll be, because it'll force me to reflect. It'll force the teachers to sit, take a moment to reflect and really see what the kids are thinking about.
Super.
Last thing too, as far as this room, when you go through the video and you see that there is no like teacher desk in here, I was fortunate enough, they blew a hole in the wall to a conference room. So I have an office, but this lab, and I'm really trying to make that known to teachers, is if it is free, they can come in and use it. This is not necessarily my room. It is the students' lab. And if they want to come in and use a space and push things around and have a big open space for something, or need to just spread out, and I don't have a class here, or they need some of my materials to do something that they're doing, that this is their room too. This is not just my space. And that was a very intentional thing.
Oh yeah. Good way to draw some additional cooperation, or most places always have some kind of holiday project or pre-play or something project. And the way the kids can provide the leadership if they're used to the routine.
And if they know how to use all this stuff in here, then it's less on the teacher to have to explain how to do things and all that preemptive, things, like they already know. They know how to use it. They know how to use the room.
Again, we thank you very much. It's really been grand to see from the back in August
Yeah,
to present how well things are chugging along, and you surely have the right things in mind about what's the to-do list, and what needs to be happening next to gain all the benefits from things. So
yeah.
you're
Well,
really
thank you.
grand.
Thanks. It's been fun.
Yes, thank you very much.